Turn our attention now to the women's 1500 freestyle.
Take your marks.
So Lani Pallister in the water, having won her first Australian title in this event back in 2022, and her mum Janelle Elford was an Australian champion in the 1500 on 3 separate occasions. The Australian record is owned by Maddie Goff, 15:46.13. Lani is already on the team, so she gets a free swing. I wonder if she decides to try and go fast here and have a crack at the national record.
Hasn't it been an incredible week for Lani Pallister? Every race that she's been in, she's qualified for the team in one way or the other. Second to Arnie in both the 400 and the 800, part of the 4x2 relay in the 200 freestyle final the other night. So from incredible disappointment in missing that Tokyo team, incredible disappointment. We wondered if she'd come back from it, and then had a horror run with so many different things. To see her back and to see her qualifying in every event that she's swimming, and swimming so well, is just a joy.
It is a joy that she is swimming well and that she is doing well. Lani Pallister, to be able to swim from the 200 metres freestyle right through to the 1500, it's a huge range, and the training is quite specific at either end of those. But Lani Pallister's been able to cover that off and has been producing some of her best swims. It's her arrival at the World Short Course Championships in Melbourne, where she won 4 gold medals, was able to show and start to shine, and she's carried it on since then.
So a reminder that only 2 women in this field have been under the qualifying time of 16:01.95 before, and that is Lani Pallister and Moesha Johnson in the lane next to her in lane 5. As we keep saying, Moesha is part of the Olympic team already for the open water, and so already qualified onto the Paris Olympic team. Would love to add a pool event to that program.
And if we're talking about the range of what a swimmer's preparing for Moesha already swimming in the open water, coming down to a 1500 is probably as significant as what Lani Pallister in the middle in lane 4 is doing from a 1500 down to a 200 metres.
So Lani Pallister, the bronze medal winner in this event at the 2022 World Champs in Budapest, leads the way already by the best part of a couple of body lengths in the 1500 metres final. A reminder, it's a timed final. This is the seeded heat. We've had another of the timed finals in the earlier session today, but certainly Lani Pallister expected to go through and win this event.
Lani has swum a 15:57.01 this year, so that puts her at the 7th fastest time swum in the world this year. There's a few big names on that list of 1500 times going around at the moment. Katie Ledecky owns 2 of those top 10 times.
Simona Quadrella is actually the reigning world champ from Doha, the Italian swimmer. Isabel Gosa of Germany, and Li Bingji, Chinese swimmer, sneaks in the top 5 best times in 2024 in this event. If you go to the all-time performances though, Gio,
that's right.
There's not much room for anyone else apart from Katie.
No.
Incidentally, American time, the American trials actually get underway today, American time. They've set up a pool in a 30,000-seat stadium.
Yeah, an NFL stadium that they've converted, built a pool in it, in Indianapolis. So they are going bigger than Ben-Hur for those trials over there.
It wouldn't be like the Americans.
They'd certainly be watching what has happened here at the Australian trials this week.
I guess the closest we've done to that was Rod Laver Arena for the swimming.
2007 Worlds. So Lani Pallister here with a commanding lead. Now, she's used to this. She's used to swimming on her own in this event. She's used to having to set the pace. She's used to having to control where she's at and really not be racing anyone else in the pool. She's racing against herself and the clock. Wants a great time. Of course, the qualifying time shouldn't be an issue for her, but wants to post a great time, as we keep saying that she is in form this week. And when you're in form, you've got to take advantage of that, because all of a sudden, you don't know when that next form will come. You hope that it's at an Olympics, but you don't know that.
That's right. So looking at best times, Lani Pallister's going through in around 1:03 per 100 metres. So looking at whether she can be able to post that PB And after a 1500, what a reward to be able to have, to see that that's faster than what you've ever done.
Maddie Goff is still the Australian record holder in this event, 15:46.13.
So Lani turns after 500 metres. It's a pleasure to be joined by Lani Pallister's coach, the genius himself, Michael Bold. Great to have you company, Michael, and thanks very much for your time. She's made her first Olympic team this week, Lani. It's been a wonderful week for everyone under your guidance.
Yeah, we've been pretty happy with Lani. She's qualified for the relay, the 4x2 relay, the 400 freestyle, the 8, and hopefully the 1500 tonight.
Bolly, as we interrupt you, what are you looking out for at this coming up to 600-metre mark?
Oh, just looking for even speed, you know, trying to replicate each 50, the last 29 50s, to be as close to the same swimming speed as she can. She's looked like she's in pretty good rhythm there. Her tempo's very even. She's sitting up nice and high in the water. She's looking very strong, so hopefully she can produce a pretty good time tonight.
Bolly, we just mentioned that Lani is very used to being in this position. She's used to being out on her own and having to race herself and the clock. Is there something you give her, a directive as a coach, to say, make sure you keep at this whatever to keep herself motivated throughout this race?
I think, Gianna, it all comes back to the training. Look, we've done so much work at pace. They've got that inbuilt rhythm. They know their tempo and they know their speed, so they do so much of this in training. It's like second nature to them. So I think the training probably is the most important piece, and being very consistent in training. And if the training's good, then hopefully the racing should be good.
And we're talking about how Lani has had such a spectacular week. Do you think she's capable of a PB tonight, a great time?
Oh, I just think, you know, the name of the game here is to just qualify for the team. So she's got to get under 16 minutes, which she should be able to do, looking at the speed she's working at now. And it really doesn't matter so much what they do here. It's just qualifying for the team, but they've got to make sure that they're at their best in 6 weeks' time when the Olympics is on.
There's a lot of highs and lows that come through a selection trials. It must be hard to watch Lani and Lani going on and being successful. A bit tough to watch Cody tonight, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just disappointing for Cody, unfortunately. Like, he's done a great job to do what he's done. Very, very proud of what he did. Turned out his 100 freestyle was probably even more competitive than his fly. He always knew it was going to be very, very tough, but he's got a ton of courage, and just very proud of his application over the last 2 or 3 years that he's been training in our squad, and just very proud of what he achieved here.
Thanks, Bolly.
Thanks
for
for your time, Michael. We'll see you in Paris.
Thank you.
Michael Bold.
It's incredible to get insights from a coach when a swimmer is in the water, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that pacing is really important. So that consistent speed that Michael Bold was talking about. So we're looking at the 103 mark, setting that up. So across the 1500 every lap, that's 15:45. That would be a PB here. So her Lani's best time is 15 minutes 48.96 seconds. She looks like she's on track to be able to do that, which is fantastic. A PB at the end of the meet when you started off so strong.
It's applying the same principles from a 50 all the way through to a 1500. We've seen Cam McAvoy in the 50 do a lot less training, but only training at that top end speed. So his body, his stroke rate, everything only knows how to be perfect at that pure race speed. And you just heard Michael Bold say that's very similar for Lani, albeit over a 1500 and at that pace, but knowing that that's where she needs to be every lap of the 1500 if she wants a great time.
So through 850 metres past the halfway mark, Lani Pallister, she's opened up a lead of almost 10 metres, I'd say. Looking really strong. She's the world short course champion in this event as well. And I'm sure the aim in this 1500 metres is to medal in Paris. We're just seeing gradual improvement from her as the months have ticked away. She's been able to seal a passage through to Paris in that 400 earlier. She'll play a prominent role for the Australian team overall.
It's interesting when we get to see the underwater shot of Lani. The water's moving away from her quite well. So it means she's not interrupting the water. The stroke must be even to be able to do that. With all the kilometres that Lani would have to put into training, finding every efficiency that you can so that you can save your energy, conserve it throughout a 1500 is obviously going to pay off. And you can see that by the lack of interruption in the water behind her.
Just saw in that underwater shot Lani's kick. It's known as a 2-beat kick, and it crosses over at one stage when she's moving along. Now, in her shorter distance events, she has a much higher beat kick, her 200 particularly, whereas the longer the distance becomes, the less the kick plays a role in this. So for her, she'll bring it in with 100 to go, you would think. It's her normal race plan, but that 2-beat kick is very distinctive of distance swimmers.
It is. It becomes almost, if you're breathing every stroke, which is what Lani's doing here, it becomes a stabilizer for when you turn just off your axis a little bit more to take a breath. Still on pace to be able to do a PB here, which is great. As I said, we're looking at around the 103 mark per 100 metres, bringing a time of around 15 minutes 45. 3-second drop in time.
Keeping our eye on Moesha Johnson as well in lane 5. She comes down to 9 laps to swim. The distance is probably, it's not increasing and it's not decreasing. She's almost sitting in that same spot behind Lani Pallister, so they're almost holding pace.
And knowing how to pace, we talk about how critical it would be in a 1500. As soon as you're going to open water events, you've got to work out how to conserve, how to apply your energy when it's going to work.
As Lani touches and turns with 400 to swim, 400 metres. That's very appropriate to introduce our next guest, Mac Horton, the Rio Olympic gold medalist in the 400. Thanks very much for your time, Mac. I know the 15 is a pretty arduous event. What sort of pain might they be feeling at this stage, do you think?
They're feeling everything now. They would have been feeling everything since the 800, I reckon. It doesn't get any worse than this, but looks like they're hanging on pretty well. I was just with Bowley, and he's hoping to keep Lani's splits under the 32-second mark per 50. I think she may just be creeping over. I haven't seen the last couple of laps, but maybe you guys know over at the desk.
So, how are you going, Mac? This is your first Olympic trials on the sidelines. How are you feeling?
Loving it, to be honest. Yeah, it's been good. I think it would actually be harder watching it on TV, but being here, experience the energy and also the anxiety probably makes it a bit easier, to be honest.
What's your favourite race that you've seen this week, Mac?
I think Bronte Campbell's 4th in the 100 was one of the more impressive things I've seen. Obviously, the women's 200 was amazing. Yeah, it's been a great week.
And your squad, your old squad, Mac, I should say, has performed admirably. What do you make of, you know, Cody's journey? You've been alongside him in the pool for most of that journey. How did you make his 100 fly tonight, and more so the journey leading up to it?
I would have loved to see him get on, but that's the reality of Olympic trials. It's always tough. It's been amazing to, you know, spend the last 2 years training with him. He's trained bloody hard. He's a good guy. And it's been great fun being up on the Gold Coast with, you know, not just Cody, but that entire group. Such an incredibly talented group. So it's been a pleasure.
And Mac, just quickly before we let you go, you've been on Australian teams with Kate Campbell over a number of years. It was so emotional to see her bow out tonight.
Yeah, that was one of the more special moments I've ever seen in swimming. All the girls getting around her at the end. You know, not the fairy tale she was after, but I think that's probably the second best way to do it. So yeah, it was amazing.
Thank you, Matt. Great to talk.
Thanks, guys.
Mac Horton, recently retired Mac Horton. Now the gap's closed a little bit here. Lani Pallister still with a relatively comfortable lead, but Moesha Johnson has eaten into this margin, and given her pedigree in open water swimming, she will be very strong at the end of this race.
She has lifted her stroke rate, Moesha Johnson. We said that what's happened in this race is that Lani has gone out very hard, as we know that she does. Moesha hasn't had that speed to go with her, but once we kind of hit the 500-metre mark, then all of a sudden Moesha and Lani are swimming at the same pace. The gap was not closing. It was not becoming any larger. So now we've got a situation where Moesha has found another gear. That distance training has kicked in to a certain degree. and she is closing this gap. Lani, of course, has had a huge week. Lots of mileage, swum and raced this week. So will it be enough? With 2 laps to swim for a PB, and both of them under the qualifying time.
The sweet sound of the bell with 100 to swim in the 15, and Lani, she's doing it nicely. She's looking to increase the rate. Moesha Johnson swimming a fantastic race in second position, and they've got quite a margin on the rest of the field, as one would expect.
Oh, you can see Lani sitting a little bit lower in the water. This is hurting now. She's in the hurt locker now.
Yeah.
Shoulders are red. She's sitting low in the water, just trying to find something else. We watch that kick bring in now. She brings the kick in now. She knows she hasn't got far to go. She knows she's going to win this race, but she wants a time.
Gee, Moesha's absolutely flying through the last 50. This is going to get pretty tight. Lani's going to win it, but Moesha Johnson, she's back to about a couple of body lengths away. What a swim from the open water competitor. But Lani Pallister, it's been another red letter week. 15:53.79. Moesha Johnson touches the wall in second.
Both swimmers under the qualifying time. In 15:57. 4 seconds underneath the qualifying time. Well done to Moesha for being able to do that. And well done to Lani Pallister at the end of the big week to be able to pull out. It's a strong 1500 for her. One of the best times she's ever produced in the event. Had to pace the whole way herself.
Well done. Wow. What a story. Lani Pallister over the whole week, and Moesha Johnson is going to Paris with both a pool swim and an open water swim.
Fantastic. So Lani's support group, they're among the more enthusiastic that we see at these national events. It is a strong group of close confidants. And our last couple of swimmers coming to touch the wall to complete the 1500 and to complete what has been a stellar week of competition here in Brisbane.
Congratulations, Lani and Moesha.